Habertürk.com'dan herkese merhabalar. Ben İrem Kuşoğlu, Görgü. Ülkelerin temiz enerjiye geçişi, enerji dinamiklerinin Rusya-Ukrayna Savaşı sonrası değişimi ve yenilenebilir enerjiye dair projelerini ele alan özel serimizin yeni durağında bu kez Hollanda Başkonsolosluğundayız. Bugün Hollanda'nın enerji politikalarını, yeşil dönüşüm hedeflerini konuşacağız. Yanımda ise konuklarım Hollanda İstanbul Başkonsolosu Arjen Outerlinde ve Hollanda Ekonomik İşler Müsteşarı Paul Zwetsloot var.
Thank you so much for welcoming us here. So I'm going to start with you right now. Could you tell us Netherlands' current initiatives in green transformation and renewable energy?
Thank you for being here, and first of course I want to welcome you to the Dutch Palace here in Istanbul, where there's so much history and there's so much happening in the present as well. And especially this year, when we have 100 years of friendship, and we really try to give other boosts to the relationship and the cooperation between our two countries. So I'm happy that we can focus today on the topic of energy and green energy. In the Netherlands, this has been a very important topic in view of climate change and challenges happening. Last year, a big Dutch plan was launched on the energy system, and that comprised also the introduction of a climate and transition fund of 35 billion that makes it possible to invest in changing the energy division in the Netherlands, in focusing on investments in energy savings, promoting renewable energy sources in the supply and in the sector itself, renewable electricity sector, CO2-free electricity sector, and of course the dependency on fossil fuels to reduce that. It means also that new investments have to be made in CO2-free production capacities in industry, and also in the households, how energy is being used. So it's a big comprehensive plan where the money is used for new technologies, and the policies are directed towards giving incentives and reducing the dependency on gas and on other fossil fuels. That's the generic picture. Hydrogen is an important topic, and we'll come to talk about that, I think, in more detail. The Netherlands was the first country to have a hydrogen policy in place. Solar is very important. Wind parks offshore. I think the Netherlands is really one of the leading countries in offshore wind park energies, and also in the market we're a big player. Of course there are some other areas, but these are, I think, the main, the renewable energies, fossils, wind parks, solar on roofs. In the Netherlands, the number of solar use in families is 3.5 panels per capita. I think that's also one of the best in the world, probably. So that's the general picture.
The Netherlands, like the Consul General said, is being one of the biggest investors when it's come to offshore wind energy. Could you provide a little more details about the latest offshore wind projects, including their scale and expected outputs and technological advancements?
Yes, I can. Well, first of all, we are in very favorable conditions with the North Sea. It's a shallow sea, so it's not very difficult to put windmill turbines over there. It's very close to industrial areas, so it's very easy to use it directly. And there is a lot of wind, which is of course very important. So, and in the last centuries, we have learned to deal with the North Sea very, very well for fisheries, but also for the exploitation of oil and gas industry. And on the basis of that, we have developed a very large industry in the production, in the transportation, and in the installation of offshore wind. So now you can say that about 25% of all European offshore wind parks is held by Dutch companies. So that's a major achievement. In the Netherlands itself, currently we are producing 4.5 gigawatt, which is nice, but it's not good enough. So we're now developing 9 new windmill parks in the sea, and that will lead up into a total capacity of 21 gigawatt in 2030. So that's the aim, and then if we have achieved that, that's about 75% of all the electricity production in the Netherlands and about 16% of all the energy use. So I think we are going to make a major step in that. Maybe also good to know that we're not only doing everything by ourselves, we are also in a group of what we call the North Sea Energy Collaboration Program. So we're working also with other countries in the North Sea area to develop further the total wind energy, offshore wind energy capacity. And I think in Europe overall we have now about 300 gigawatts of total production. So it's quite substantial. Maybe it's also nice to add one element that we have developed very strongly in the development of offshore wind parks is our tender systems. In our tenders, we do not describe the exact technical details how it needs to be done. We leave that to the developers. So they can use any kind of technology they would like to use in order to reduce the price. And through that system, we as the Netherlands have been able to set up offshore wind parks at such a cost price that no subsidies is necessary anymore. So this is the first time ever in the world that we have been able to achieve this. So our way of doing the tender system is really something that I think is a kind of technological innovation. And we are also very much willing to share that also with other countries.
And we know the Netherlands is doing as a government about the renewable energy, but how about the local communities? I mean, how does the Netherlands ensure the involvement and the support of the local economies and stakeholders about the renewable energy projects?
First, one remark I think that I did not make in the first part. This National Energy System Plan aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 0 by 2050. And this is of course also in line with the European climate law. So we're also acting in a broader context because of course you cannot do that only as a small country if you will have to make an impact on the climate in a broader sense. With regard to the people's involvement, I think the Netherlands is a very densely populated country, and through the ages we have developed a custom of what we call polder model. Polder model means that people have to talk, all the stakeholders have to talk together to make sure that some plans can work, because otherwise you can make beautiful plans but they will not land or they will cause resistance on the population. So for this big transition it's very important to have everybody on board, and of course people are worried maybe by the big transitions, how they will affect them in that way. So first you need a lot of awareness raising and education campaigns. Secondly, there is initiatives that come from the population themselves, and these initiatives they are as good as possible. They are involved in the policy making. Another thing is that we have facilitated as a government a national climate platform where different insights, views, contributions, suggestions can be collected, and they will be channeled to the government to take into account. And I think fourth, collaboration with academics, research can also help to raise the acceptance. All the concerns, of course, are very valid. This can affect the environment, it can impact the fishery industry when we talk about wind parks in sea. It can have consequences for navigation and transport. So there's a lot of aspects that have to be taken into consideration. And all of this, I think, is very much part of the acceptance of the change that we have to go through.
The Russia and Ukraine war I want to ask you about is how has Netherlands' approach to renewable energy and green transformation evolved in response to the war?
Yeah, well, the Netherlands is very much embedded in an international environment, and all events like a war in Russia or elsewhere have big impacts on our economy and on our functioning as a country. So, with regard to the energy sector, I think already the Netherlands had decided to go on this energy transition path, and the shocks, of course, were big in the beginning. We had high price rises in energy and fuels, record high in 2022. But by now, I mean, this reduction of gas imports from Russia and the European ban on oil and coals have accelerated this process of transition. So there is definitely an impact, but you could say it helped us in awareness and to accelerate in that transition.
What specific measures has the Netherlands taken to enhance the energy security and to reduce dependence on Russian energy supplies following the geopolitical shifts caused by the war?
Yes, right. Well, first of all, the imports from Russia reduced considerably. So we were importing 150 billion cubic meters of gas from Russia, and that has been reduced to 40. So that was a more than 75% of reduction. And yes, we had to compensate for that, so we had to take action. Well, first of all, people were urged to economize on the use of energy, so to use less energy. Secondly, we have been importing a lot of LNG, so liquefied natural gas, from other countries like from the US, from Norway, from the Middle East, from the UK. So we have been looking for other suppliers, so to say. Thirdly, also, and that was a bit uncomfortable, we had to reuse the full capacity of our coal-fired power plants again. We were just trying to phase them out, but we had to gear up our electricity production then through coal, so that was a temporary measure. And there is a warning system for storage of gas. Mm-hmm. So we have, thanks to the port of Rotterdam and Vlissingen and Eemshaven, we are able to have large storage capacities. And as soon as this capacity goes beyond 90% of the total capacity, we have a kind of early warning system. But so far that has not been necessary because our capacity is now filled up until 99%. And maybe it's also good to know that also in here again in European cooperation, there was this what we call reform activities from within the European framework. We have also been collaborating with our European Union partners.
What about the nuclear energy? I mean, what role does the nuclear energy play in Netherlands' overall energy strategy? And are there any plans to expand its use in the future?
Yeah, in the Dutch energy mix, nuclear has about 10% of the energy supply. This is one big nuclear station that we have. I think in the future, in the strategy, there is preparations going to be made for expansion, maybe for 2 more nuclear stations. Of course, this has a very long due. The building of a nuclear plant takes a long time. So, in order to reach the targets for CO2-free energy sector, it will not come in time before 2030. But definitely, I think that the plans are being prepared for expand 2 more nuclear stations to also as a kind of security in the energy mix.
In February, Google has signed its largest ever power purchase agreement with offshore wind projects. off the coast of the Netherlands as part of the efforts to the green power supply. How does Netherlands perceive this significant investment about the offshore wind sector?
Well, first of all, I cannot say something particular about one individual company. So let me phrase it in this way: is that it has a large burden on our electricity distribution network, and actually there's a lot of congestion at the moment in our electricity network. Electricity is much more used nowadays. People have heat pumps, people are charging their electrical cars, people are changing from gas cooking into electrified cooking. So more and more electricity is used in the Netherlands. And also companies like Google that you were mentioning all add up to congestion on the electricity distribution network. And that's a major issue. So we're working hard to expand our infrastructure on this. And we expect that about 75% of the total congestion, the lack of distribution capacity that we're having now, will be solved in the years to come. But it will require a major infrastructural investment, as you can imagine. And the remaining part is we need to see that we can also change the habit of people, that they charge their cars, for example, in the times that the sun is shining, so that they can use solar energy, or when the wind is blowing and that they can use the wind energy. So that kind of attitude also need to adjust, or using your washing machine and things like that. And with that kind of behavior, we expect that we can also solve the remaining 25% on the congestion.
Much of the Netherlands sits below the sea level and gradually sinking. And according to the United Nations, sea levels are currently rising more than twice because of the global warming. And actually no place in Europe is more threatened about the sea levels more than the Netherlands. But despite this, the country is recognized as one of the Europe's more initiative about the tackling sea levels. How does the Netherlands address this critical issue, and what are the key strategies about it?
Yeah, our history, the Netherlands' history is connected, I think, with water all the way. We are situated in a delta. All rivers come together and have to export their flows of water, and we see now that with climate change, also the irregularity of those flows has grown, and also the extremity of them. So it's not only sea level rise, it's also the climate change affecting the river flows. And in the Netherlands, I think in the past we tried to protect ourselves with all kinds of ingenious systems to protect us to the sea. But I think that there is also a growing awareness, and this has been transformed into strategies that you also have to adapt to not only to defend, but also to adapt to the new circumstances. And this is done by a big project that's called Room for the Rivers, to create more space for the rivers to be able to transport those flows to the seas. This means that this has also a very important impact on spatial planning, because you cannot just build everywhere and expand cities. So it's an integrated policy on spatial planning, on creating space for rivers, to increase the capacity, for example, in the dams and the dikes, to export water from the country to the sea. I think there's a lot we can do to adapt, but in the end, I think it's really also that we have to change our way of thinking and way of planning to do so.
And of course, my last question will be about Turkey and the collaboration between the
Yeah.
Netherlands. How has the Netherlands collaborated with the Turkey about in the field of the renewable energy? And what areas do you see has the most potential about the collaboration between two countries?
Right. Well, there are many areas where we think we can collaborate. On a minor scale, we are doing that already in solar energy and on geothermal energy, and especially on the latter, I think we can learn a lot from Turkey, because you have developed quite a strong geothermal strategy. But let me look more closely into the offshore wind and in hydrogen. On offshore wind, I already explained that we have a huge experience in this field. So we are aware of the fact that Turkey is now building, wanting to build a 5 gigawatt offshore wind farm in the Marmara Sea, in the southern Marmara Sea. And we are ready to cooperate with Turkey. So we are in cooperation also with the Ministry of Energy to look for ways where we can do cooperation. For example, currently on the seabed research, so what kind of quality of seabed will we have, how is the depth? Also on wind research, how much wind do we have in that area? And also civil servants from the Ministry of Energy have already participated in the Netherlands in what we call master classes, where we also share our knowledge and capacity that we are having with regard to offshore wind. So that's the offshore wind cooperation, and well, it depends also very much on tenders. You need to participate in tenders, and of course, we want to participate in that as well, and hopefully we can contribute in the near future. On hydrogen, just let me elaborate a little bit on why we are producing so much hydrogen, because Arjen already mentioned that we were the first country to have a hydrogen policy, national hydrogen policy. And that is due to the fact that, first of all, we are already using quite a lot of hydrogen in our major industry, but that is grey hydrogen. We want to transfer it to green hydrogen by setting up electrolyzers just onshore next to our offshore wind parks, so that we can use the capacity from our wind parks to bring it onshore and use it for the electrolyzers. Secondly, we have a very dense pipe network for our gas production from the past. Since our own gas production will be reduced, we can use that distribution pipe system for the transport of hydrogen. So also in that aspect, I think we have a comparative advantage. So we expect to, and thirdly, I think it's also good to mention that we are setting up all kinds of collaboration of countries that are going to produce hydrogen in the future, and that we would like to be them as our supplier for hydrogen, also in order to meet our energy demands. So with Turkey, we are looking forward to cooperate on that as well. Maybe Turkey could also be a supplier in the future if they want to, if they have excess capacity, of course, not for their own market. But also in storage, we're looking for cooperation with Turkey. In distribution, we're looking for ways, but also in the development of hydrogen. So there are all kinds of technical collaboration is already ongoing between the Netherlands and Turkey on this. So, yeah, and we're very happy with this cooperation, of course.
Of course, I think we talk about the relationship between the Netherlands and Turkey, and we're very proud that we have a very strong collaboration in many fields, and also in terms of economy and trade. We are among the major investors, on paper the first investor in Turkey, and we have a trade volume of 15 billion euros. But it goes, of course, much deeper into it, because what we are looking and what we are wishing is that this will be innovative, qualitative, sustainable cooperation that we want to support and increase. And it's also very helpful that we have a very strong Turkish community in the Netherlands that makes this bridge between our two countries work. And in that context, this 100-year celebration helps us to draw attention to this relationship and to give further boosts to it.
Once again, thank you so much for welcoming us here, and thank you both of you for your answers.
Thank you.
You're
it was
welcome.
a pleasure. Yeah.